In financial literacy, interest is a very important topic. There's two types of interest. There's simple interest and there's compound interest. We're going to talk about simple interest here. Now let's start with a few definitions. So simple interest, here we have interest, and that is the fee that is charged for the use of money. Now this could be money that you have borrowed or that you have invested. When you deposit money into a bank account, the bank gives you a small interest, and that's because they are using your money. Now also when you invest money into a company or into bonds, they are able to use that money and they give you interest on that. On the other hand, you might want to borrow money. So when you borrow money from somebody or from a bank, they charge you interest for that. So that's what interest is. And interest, we will use the letter I to denote the interest. So along with interest, there's something called the principal. And the principal, this is the amount of money that is borrowed or the amount of money that is invested. So here, principal, the amount of money borrowed or invested. And when we talk about the principal amount, we always use the capital letter P to denote the principal amount. So along with that, there's also the rate. And the rate happens to be the percentage that is charged for the use of money. So this is the percentage charged for the use of money. And for the rate, we always use the small letter R to denote what that percentage is. And the last component of simple interest is time. So this is the length of time that the money is invested or borrowed. So the length of time the money is invested or borrowed. Should be an is. And for time, we use the small letter T to denote time. Now there's a simple interest formula to calculate the interest, and this is interest is equal to the principal amount times the rate times the amount of time. So let's take a look at a couple examples now. Let's say you want to borrow $500. And the bank lets you borrow that $500 but says it's going to charge you at a rate of 5%. And you want to borrow that money and pay it back over 2 years. So our T is equal to 2 years. And the 500, this is our principal amount. Okay, let's plug this into this formula and see how much interest will be charged. So I is equal to 500 times, now the rate here, this is as a percentage. When we want to make our calculation, we're going to write that as a decimal, like that. And this is over 2 years. So now when we calculate this out, this is 50. So our interest that we have to pay is $50 interest to borrow that money at 5% over 2 years. That's how much is the fee for that. Now, sometimes you might be told what the interest is, but you're not told what the percentage is. You can calculate that easily as well. So let's suppose that you want to borrow $8,000. And the bank tells you that you can borrow this over 5 years. So our time is 5 years. And it says that the interest on that amount will be $2,400. That's how much you have to pay for borrowing $8,000 over 5 years. Now, we can figure out what the rate is that the bank is charging us by plugging all of these values into this formula as well. So we know that the interest is $2,400, that's our I, and we know that this is equal to the principal amount, which is $8,000, times the rate, times the time in years. So now let's calculate what that rate would be. So we're going to start by isolating our rate on one side. So we're going to take $8,000 and multiply it by 5 years to give us $40,000. So here we have 2,400 is equal to 40,000 times R. Now if we divide both sides by 40,000, this will isolate R on one side. So 40,000 here. So those cancel, and on our right-hand side here, we're left with R. And on our left-hand side, we're just going to divide 24,000 by 40,000 to give us 0.06. 0.06. Now this gives us a rate, and that rate is equivalent to 6%. So here, our rate that we're borrowing money is 6%. We can do the same thing with any of the variables here. As long as we have any 3 of them, we can calculate the 4th one in the same method. So whether you're calculating interest or principal or time, you can do that using this formula here. And that's simple interest.